Today I have one watercolor exercise that can turn into the most gorgeous piece of art, but it's also going to teach you about water control, muscle memory, and one more really important aspect of making your paintings just look so much better. I hope you'll sit down and paint with me today. Today's supplies are so simple. I'm using my Artvival journal as my paper, a pencil, it doesn't matter what kind, and a liner brush. And then of course, your favorite paint, whatever you've got near you, literally doesn't matter. So today when I was thinking about the prompts, because yes, I'm back to the prompts, sort of. I looked at my week 3, which is now rugged mountains, right? And then I saw the word travel. And I immediately thought of this style of painting that I used to do. And while I'm chatting here, I'm just going to create a very imaginary kind of mountainous silhouette. All right. So this, I just some like simple line wiggles and dips and peaks and valleys. Do not use a reference photo. Do not take this too terribly seriously. I'm going to do something a little bit in the foreground here, okay? And then I'm also going to do a little silhouette of either like a sun, something reminiscent of a sun. You could even come in and do something a little bit reminiscent of a cloud, all right? That is it. This exercise is something that is going to teach you patience. It's going to teach you about water control, and it's going to teach you about muscle memory. Let's talk about patience. Number 1, we are going to be loading our brush. Just grab whatever color is in front of you. I don't care if it makes sense for a mountain, it doesn't matter. And you're going to follow that first line just underneath it. And you're going to repeat that first mountainous line just underneath it, all right? As you know, as best you can. Don't be super specific about it. There we have it, okay? And that is the crux of it. You're going to be repeating those lines either with water or more paint, right? Over and over and over again. So we are going to talk about why this teaches you about muscle memory, why this teaches you about water control. But first, let me talk about the idea of travel, because really, I'm stretching it a little bit here today as I reload my brush. We literally are letting our brush travel across the paper. Notice my paint is running out, and I can also tell you that the water on my brush is running out. So the prompt is travel. My brush is traveling across the paper. Before I get all into the who's and the whys and the whats of this technique and why I think it's so powerful, the way I'm interpreting this particular prompt, it's about as serious as you need to get with these World Watercolor Month prompts, or as should I say, literal. Now you could also start in the middle and kind of back into your line. That is also a great exercise. I have to reload. I cannot get this paint to stretch any further. So that brings me to water control. I am using one of the smallest brushes in my collection. It's a synthetic bristle. It doesn't hold a lot of water. So by forcing myself to use that brush, I am learning very specifically how much water this type of brush can hold, what type of mark I'm going to see on the paper when I let the water and the paint run out. And that, very simply, is what water control is all about. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead with the same brush. Just go underneath and make sure I bump into that line I just made and make one of my lines a little thicker and a little bit more, shall I say, decorative, because this is going to really take this from exercise into the realm of really cool painting as we repeat this technique over and over again. You might be wondering, what does this have to do with muscle memory? And or better yet, Kristy, what in the world is muscle memory? Muscle memory is something that's really important for artists, regardless of the level that you're at. Muscle memory is your hand-eye coordination, kind of remembering a physical movement, right? Remembering how to make a mark, remembering how it feels to make a mark. Now, this is Kristy science, so don't get on my case if it's not perfectly perfect the way I'm describing it, but it's good enough, all right? I'm making a little purple because I just felt like some purple. And I'm going to try to stay away from that previous line I made. Muscle memory basically happens when you've been practicing a lot. Your body remembers, your mind remembers, and that hand-eye coordination feels smooth. It feels a little bit more effortless. That's muscle memory. And it happens when you repeat a motion over and over and over again. And it is so important for us as artists because it's when we find our flow. It's when we feel like, yeah, this is moving, this is grooving, this feels good, this feels right, all the things. I'm adding another line of water, and I am again, or still, shall I say, learning about water control. Because as you can see, my water ran out, but also my paint dried. That previous line already dried. So I had to kind of add some color to my brush to activate that line and get the color to move again. So while this particular technique, and I mentioned it earlier, I used to do this technique all the time. Anything I painted in high school, like for about a 1.5 year period of time, I painted it using this technique. I made shadows, I explored color, and it was all with this line after line after line after line technique. It kind of reminds me of like a topo map, you know? And you see me using this even still, even to this day in my work. Now, I feel like going up into the sunshine and adding a little bit of that. Notice where I've been holding my brush kind of far out on the handle. I'm going to start with just that one line. I'm just going to get into other yellows. Don't be precise about this. Just get into it. And obviously my brush was dirty considering the color I'm seeing on that one. So I'm going to rinse. Maybe the pan of color was dirty. It doesn't matter. You could decide to do the thinnest line possible. You could alternate and do the thickest line possible. There's so many ways that you can play with this technique, but I will tell you one massive secret with this exercise. And this is, again, where exercise becomes finished piece. You are going to be creating some of the most interesting areas of your painting, maybe in a very long time. There is so much nuance that effortlessly happens on the page with this approach that make for some of the most gorgeous moments in a painting. Like, look at right here. Thin line, thick line, ombre from dark version of a color to light over here. It is stunning. You start to get a sense of just inherent shadows without trying too hard. I hope you're actually painting along with me. I'll be honest, I often recommend watching first, then painting. This is one where I think you could actually paint along with me. So if you haven't started painting along yet, maybe pause this video. And yes, I brought in like a pinky salmon color. It just felt right. Pause the video, grab your stuff, and paint along with me. Oh, look at that. I knew I could feel how much paint and water I had on my brush, and I knew I was going to be able to accomplish that really thick line. It's so pretty. Oh my gosh. We're going to go down here in the bottom and get some of that foreground in. First things first, just follow that pencil sketched line. Let that brush slowly travel. Well, there's our prompt. Our prompt is done. I love it. I'm so silly. Let that brush travel along your, you guessed it, your rugged landscape. Now, if you've just hopped into this video and you're like, what is she talking about? Travel and prompts and rugged landscape. This video is part of my World Watercolor Month 2026 series. And to simplify things for those of us who don't really love World Watercolor Month or prompts in general, I have simplified the prompts into 4 sections and I'm creating little side quests that relate to the prompts but don't feel like exact representations of the prompts. And for some of the folks in watercolor land, that is a whole lot less stressful. So just repeat, repeat, repeat over and over and over. And at some point, I highly recommend allowing yourself to enjoy just the actual stroke, not thinking about water control, not thinking about muscle memory, not thinking about learning. Just enjoy the stroke. I'll go over top of this. Just enjoy the stroke. Because for as much as this technique and approach can teach us, this technique and approach is also a bit more effortless than probably anything you've tried recently. And obviously, I don't know what you've tried recently, but I do know this month can be stressful for so many of us. This is repetitive. This is intuitive once you've done a couple strokes. And I find it to be one of the most relaxing ways to sit down with your palette, your brushes, and paper. So don't forget to allow yourself to just enjoy the stroke, traveling slowly across the page. And if you run out of paint, it doesn't matter. Go grab some more paint on your brush. Maybe it's just water that you need. Tap it into the water and come back and restart the line where you left off. There's nothing about this approach or technique that says your line has to be continuous. Nothing at all. You could even go in, you want to grab yourself a little bit of a bigger brush, like right in this middle here, instead of keeping it going with lines, you could go in and just dab in a little color, get some water on your brush, go back in and spread out that color. And just kind of fill in that part, right? You could do that down here, one thicker stroke. That's kind of my foreground. I'm going to rinse lightly and go right underneath. This is our ombre technique. If you are new here and you want a beginner watercolor mastermind and you're like, wait, what is an ombre technique? I have a link below for you. Go check it out. Carve out some time for yourself and go through that mastermind. All right. And we can go in here. I'm going to do a thicker line right in here with a little purple. Yeah, feels so freeing. You can approach this exercise 3 different times. You could run through this exercise for a specific purpose. You could sit down and say, okay, I really want to go through this exercise only focusing on muscle memory. And if you were going to do that, I think your best approach, if you really just wanted to work the exercise for muscle memory, is try to make sure the space in between each line that you paint is equidistant. So essentially you're leaving the same amount of white space in between each line. And to do that, you really have to slow down. You have to go a lot slower than I've been going. If you wanted to approach this exercise just from the perspective of water control, I would try to make sure each line is the same intensity of color. So meaning one line is not going to be lighter or darker than the one before it in any given section. And that's a fantastic way to focus on water control, because you have to be very aware of how much water and paint you have on your brush. I'm just making these lines a little further apart just to fade it out. And now you can see really how quickly this can become such a beautiful, evolved, finished piece of artwork. Lovely. All right, friends, I hope you've enjoyed this session with me. I really invite you to give it a shot. Share with me in comments how you felt about it. Share with me in comments if you've ever tried this before. And of course, I would love for you to go onto Instagram, Kristy the Painter, and show me, tag me so I can see what you've created. Happy painting this World Watercolor Month. We'll see you soon.